Maruti, though, that's the one in focus. Shashank Srivastav, Executive Director at Maruti Suzuki, joins us now from New Delhi. Shashank, hi, morning. First, let's start off with your sales numbers for the month of June. And they were up a good 20% year on year, but below the 1 lakh mark. Do you think the monthly sales of 1 lakh units could be possible going forward?
No, see, we have said earlier that our domestic volume target was 110,000, and the export target was another 120,000. That is something which we have indicated earlier. And yes, the average is, last month in domestic market we did 83,000, and exports we did about 13,000. So the average for last year also was similar. The 83,000 was the average last year. In this quarter, the average is 89,000 for the domestic market. So there seems to be a growth, but we are still far off from the 100,000 number. And I think, as been clearly said earlier, that the high interest rates, the levels of high fuel price levels, and the general business sentiment not being good, that's the reason why the automobile market has remained sluggish.
Right, Shashank, there have been some reports in media that Maruti has been working on few launches in the festive season, and also it is looking at launching a 800cc diesel car. Could you throw more light on that?
No, let me tell you one thing. As far as the product plan for the future is concerned, I will not be able to comment on it because I think it will be unfair for me to talk about future products. So I will neither be able to deny nor confirm any of the things which you have said about the future products. But yes, let me make one point clear, that if you see the last couple of years, even if you look at diesel vehicles, diesel versus petrol phenomena, which everybody is talking about, it's actually the new car launches which have added to volumes in the market. And in fact, if you see last year, much of the volumes which Maruti added, we lost volumes in many brands, but the ones where we added volumes, which is basically the new Swift, the new Desire, were both new launches, as also the Ertiga, which we launched in April. And I think if you look at these figures in the first quarter also, it's the new Desire, the new Swift and the Ertiga which has led to good numbers for us. So it's true that in the industry, much of the growth which has been coming is coming from new models. And I think that's a phenomena which is going to stay for, I'm sure, for the future also. And as far as our future plans are concerned, I've already said that it will be difficult for me to comment on any product that we'll be bringing out. Yeah.
Right. But it's a known fact that diesel car sales are in high demand versus petrol cars. But tell us, have the discounts in petrol cars risen due to the sluggish demand? What's the sense that you're getting?
No, let me tell you, and you have brought out a point which is clearly confronting the industry very much. The diesel vehicle demands have been increasing, and it's the petrol car sales which have become extremely challenging. And the reason is clear, that the cost of running a car on petrol is becoming exorbitantly high. And as far as the reduction in some of the hikes which have happened recently, as you mentioned, in the last couple of weeks, the petrol prices have come down to about 3.5–4 rupees. But you must remember that there was a hike of 7.5 rupees just a month or so earlier. So really speaking, we are no better off than the last month, than 1 month previous. And in fact, we are actually worse off than 1 month earlier, because the increase was 7.5 rupees. So I think the high cost of petrol is still a deterrent for selling petrol vehicles, and it will continue to remain a challenge. And as far as discounts are concerned, as you mentioned, of course it varies from geography to geography and model to model, but you are right, because there is good demand for diesel vehicles. In some of our models, the diesel vehicles are in waiting, for example, in Swift, as in Desire, as also in Ertiga. Therefore, it is clear that the discount on petrol level vehicles would be higher. And I think that's another market phenomena which is here to stay.
Shank, what about CNG? How's that market shaping up?
Yeah, if you look at the cost per kilometer of running for CNG, diesel and petrol, petrol obviously is the most expensive. Diesel is second, and the least expensive or the cheapest is actually CNG. So it's clear that if we have a CNG option, people would go for it. Maruti Suzuki has been able to increase good volumes in CNG products because of this fact alone. In some areas, almost 30 to 40% of our sales are in CNG in some areas, like, for example, in Wagon-R in NCR. Now, the point here is that we would love to expand these products in other parts, but the problem is that the dispensing stations for CNG haven't really come about, and I think therein lies the problem for expansion for CNG.
Right. In the first quarter, though, the currency has been over the 56 mark to a dollar. Do you think margin pressure was evident in Q1 due to higher import costs and royalty payout?
No, surely the strengthening of the yen and depreciation of the rupee, both against the dollar as well as the yen, would be obviously a cost pressure for us, as it would be for most manufacturers who import in these two currencies. As I had mentioned earlier, the natural hedge against this is exports. And I think that's what we are also trying to do, that we are trying to push as much as exports, because that's the best hedge against fluctuating currency. But I am not, I'm not really an expert on finance, so I'll not be able to comment exactly on what effect it will have on margins, etc. But the general trend is clear that, best is to have exports as a natural hedge. And the trend is that if we are net importers, then any currency depreciation is obviously going to hurt the margins.
Shashank, Maruti has a sizable market share in the European export market as well. But now that the European consumer is slightly exhausted and confused, are you exploring new markets, African markets, LATAM markets?
Yes, surely, as you know, in the past few years, our exports to Europe was, the highest, was a large percentage of the total export. But in the last couple of years, after the scrappage incentives were dropped from Europe, and also because the Eurozone was not doing so well economically, we have been trying to explore the non-European areas for exports. And we have succeeded largely, because if you see, in the last couple of years, while Europe demand for our vehicles have dropped dramatically because of the market, there has not been doing well. We have still been able to maintain the export numbers by increasing our exports to non-Europe countries. And I think this year looks no different, and I don't think Europe is going to bounce back so quickly this year. And therefore, our strategy would remain the same, which is that we have to increase the exports to non-European countries. And that includes, of course, as you mentioned, South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And Africa, of course, is quite promising at this moment, and we are really looking forward to give that extra push for the exports in Africa, as also in Southeast Asia and America, in Latin America.
So leave us with some guidance. Do you think the second half of FY13 could be better than first half, given the currency, crude are favorable and interest rates can be lower going forward?
I think so, because I think all the factors which you mentioned, the business sentiment not being so positive, and interest rates being high, fuel prices being high, there could be an improvement in the second half. But as I said, and in fact I detailed it out very much in our earlier conversation, that we need to carefully watch, and because it's still uncertain, it's very much possible that if you have an uncertain monsoon, the inflationary pressures might be high, and you will not see a reduction in interest rates. So those things can change. So also the business sentiment seems to be a little bit positive ever since you had a little bit of that whiff of reforms again coming in. But it's just possible that things can crumble just because you may have some problem across the globe, maybe Spain or Portugal or Italy or anywhere. It's possible that those sentiments might disappear quickly. And on the fuel price front, I don't think there's going to be a continuous downward movement in the fuel prices. You could see some bit of fluctuation down as well as up. because today we are saying there will be a downward pressure on oil prices because the world growth is less, and it's therefore related quite much to the world growth. But the oil prices, even if internationally it comes down, if the currency, if the rupee comes down against the dollar, then we are back to square one. So even if in dollar terms the oil prices come down, it's not going to help us.